Artificers and Warlocks are two classes that I appreciate because they have customization options outside of just having a subclass. Invocations and Infusions are a great way to customize characters, breaking the norm and really making them your own. And when you actually start looking into how many options are available, you start to realize they are far more limited than we give them credit for. As of right now, an Artificer only has 16 total infusions to choose from, with 7 of those being locked behind level caps. Additionally, the bespoke armor and weapon prerequisites of the infusions means you might not even have the items you need to use the infusion you want. Artificers also know double the amount of infusions they can actually infuse at any one time, leading many to simply infuse their gear in a set way and never switch it out as the campaign progresses. What's the point of being able to customize on the go if you don't have enough options to choose from? On the flip side, Warlocks have a whopping 54 Eldritch Invocations that they can choose from. However, 32 of those have hard prerequisites that lock you out of ever being able to use them. Why can't I get Thirsting Blade as a Pact of the Chain Warlock? What if I don't want to take Eldritch Blast as one of my cantrips? Why do I want one of my infusions to be taken up by the ability to cast Bane, which a level 1 cleric can already do? That's more of just a personal gripe on that one. I don't get that. Anyway, my name's Ethan Cat, and this is Ethan's Magic Emporium, where today we will be going through my collection of additional Eldritch Invocations and Artificer Infusions, because you can never have too much choice. First off, let's start with the Eldritch Invocations. I feel like Warlocks are an often slept on class, so if anyone wants to take these invocations to further customize their characters and really make them theirs, go nuts, that's what they're there for. Survivor's Soul is an invocation that means whenever you get healing from a spell, any die rolled to restore hit points can't be considered to be under half their maximum value. Additionally, when a spell or magical effect returns you to life after being killed, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level, which last for 1 minute. Demolition Deviant. Whenever your spell or weapon attack hits an object or non-magical structure, the hit is considered to be a critical hit, much like an adamantine weapon. Guiding Hand provides you with the following benefits. You always know which way is north, you always know what time it is, you can accurately recall your way through a maze or labyrinth you've traversed before and automatically succeed on any intelligence check to escape the maze spell, and you have advantage on perception or insight checks to locate traps, hidden passageways, or deciding the safest route when provided with multiple options. Otherworldly Expertise means when you make an ability check with a skill you're proficient in, you can use your reaction to add your proficiency bonus to the roll again. You can only use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, regaining all uses at the end of a long rest. Phase Stepper. As a bonus action, you can cast Misty Step or Expeditious Retreat without expending a Warlock spell slot. You can cast each of these spells once, and can only cast them again once you've finished a short or long rest. Eldritch Claws augments the Eldritch Blast cantrip. When you cast Eldritch Blast, you can make it as a melee attack roll instead of a ranged attack. When you cast it in this way, the spell's damage die becomes 1d12. Second Opinion. When you roll an ability check using Wisdom or an intelligence-based skill, you can reach out to your patron to grant yourself advantage on the roll as they guide you with their knowledge. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, regaining all uses at the end of a long rest. Deathless Perseverance. When you are reduced below 0 hit points and not killed outright, you do not fall prone or incapacitated until you have at least one failed death saving throw. During this time, you are considered to be poisoned, but can move and act as normal, rolling your death saving throw at the start of your turn as normal. Starting at level 10, you do not fall incapacitated until you have at least 2 death saving throw failures. This one's a little bit weird and wacky, and basically allows you to keep up and standing until you get that 1 death saving throw failure. While you're at 0 hit points and are not incapacitated, you still gain death saving throws in the same way. So if you want to get up into the thick of the fight even while you run death saves, you will get death saving throws after being hit as you normally would. So watch out. Bottled Banishment is an invocation that requires the Genie patron which means as an action you can cast Banishment on a creature without expending a spell slot or material components, and on a failed saving throw the creature is sent to your genie's vessel, rather than a harmless demiplane. The creature can roll saving throws to escape as normal, and can use its turn to interact with or attack any creatures or objects who are also in the vessel. Once cast, this feature cannot be cast by you again until you take a short or long rest. Voices from Beyond means that once per long rest, you can cast Augury without expending a spell slot or material components, reaching out to your patron for guidance. When you reach level 10, you can cast Divination without expending a spell slot in a similar way. Whispers of Danger is an invocation that means when you're forced to roll a saving throw against a spell or effect that you can't see, such as a trap or a spell, you can use your reaction to give yourself advantage on the roll. Alternatively, if you roll initiative and are considered surprised, you can use this feature at the top of the turn order regardless of your roll, and remove the surprise condition on yourself. Once you use this feature in either of these ways, you must take a short or long rest before using it again. Elemental Shield. When you take fire, cold, lightning, poison, thunder, or acid damage, you can use your reaction to grant yourself immunity to this damage type until the end of your next turn. If this damage results in an effect that lasts over time, such as the residual acid of Tasha's Caustic Brew or standing in fire or lava, you can continue to be immune to the damage of this effect for 1 minute, or until the effect is dispelled or removed. You can use this feature a number of times equal to half of your proficiency bonus, rounded up, and regain all uses at the end of a long rest. Essentially, it's a more advanced Absorb Elements, which would go great on a Genie or a Hexblade Warlock. Finally, we have Sea Stride, which means you can cast Water Walk only on yourself without expending a spell slot or components. You are also unaffected by difficult terrain that occurs as a result of ice or water. When designing some of these invocations, I tried to keep the themes of some of the existing patrons in mind, such as the Fiend or the Hexblade. However, I took those patrons off as a prerequisite for the invocations to allow people to really customize their warlocks, which they should be able to do. Unless, of course, it was mechanically necessary, like in the case of the Genie's Vessel one, so yeah. Next up, we have Artificer Infusions. Given that you can change infusions over a long rest, I designed some of these infusions to not exactly be staple everyday infusions, but rather give you a little bit more flexibility and one-off infusions that you might take for a specific quest, a specific adventure, or a specific subplot, I guess. At the very top, we have Elemental Weapon, which requires a simple or martial weapon. The weapon becomes magical and its damage type becomes fire, cold, lightning, poison, or acid, your choice once you apply the infusion. You can also apply an additional infusion to the weapon alongside this one if you have additional infusions to apply. Lightsaber, 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 lightsaber! Next up we got Self-Repairing Armor, which requires a suit of armor. If any healing die rolls a 1 or a 2 when healing a creature wearing this armor, those die can be re-rolled and must use the new rolls. If the spell or feature healing the wearer affects multiple creatures, these die are only re-rolled for the creature wearing the armor. Ghostlight Gear requires a weapon, suit of armor, trinket, or shield, so basically anything really. While wielding this item, you can use your action to cast the Light cantrip, centered on this item. The light this item sheds can only be perceived by creatures you designate, meaning other creatures must rely on alternate light sources to perceive you and your allies. Night Vision Sword. You're welcome. Trekking Souls requires a pair of boots, and while wearing these boots, difficult terrain has no effect on you, and your speed cannot be reduced unless it's reduced directly to 0. Optimized Tools requires a set of Artisan's Tools or an Arcane Focus, which means that once per long rest, you can cast one of your Artificer spells at first level without expending a spell slot. Starting at 10th level, you can cast one of your Artificer spells at 2nd level, also without spending a spell slot. Accessible Armament requires a martial weapon, but when this infusion is applied to a martial weapon, it is considered then to be a simple weapon instead. Beacon Charm requires any item or piece of adventuring gear, and means as an action you can cast Locate Object on the infused item specifically without expending a spell slot or material components. Arcane Rifling requires a set of Artisan's Tools or an Arcane Focus, and means that creatures you designate have advantage on saving throws against spells cast by this item. Armored Garb requires a set of clothes that provide no bonus to your armor class, And while wearing these clothes, your AC equals 13 plus your dexterity modifier. Chameleon Cosmetics requires a suit of armor or set of clothes, and means that as an action, you can cause this item to visually change into another item of a similar type. A creature can perform an insight check against your Artificer spell save DC to identify that the item worn is a forgery, and you must know what the forged appearance looks like in order to faithfully recreate it. Agile Weapon requires a simple or martial weapon that doesn't have the heavy property and requires you to be level 6. When you use your action to make a single attack roll with this magic weapon, you can then use your bonus action to make another attack roll. It's a roundabout way of giving an artificer multi-attack if they're not already a battlesmith. Armor of Deflection requires a suit of medium or heavy armor and requires you to be level 9, and means that whilst this armor is donned, no ranged attack rolls made against you can have advantage. Diminutive Defender requires a crystal or gem worth 25 gold pieces, and means at the end of a long rest you can summon a familiar, as though by the Find Familiar spell. This creature is considered to be a construct rather than a beast, and when this construct is destroyed, the gem used to create the familiar is left behind. I mean, not when, I mean if they're destroyed, like they're not guaranteed to die, but I guess that depends on what you do with them. Alchemical Catalyst requires a potion or container of liquid that can only be consumed once, and by infusing the potion or liquid with this alchemical catalyst, it can be consumed twice instead of just once. Once the infusion has been applied to this item, it cannot be infused again in this way. Double potion, double potion! Oxen Armor requires a suit of heavy armor, and whilst wearing this armor, you are considered to be one size larger for the perspective of calculating carrying capacity and being grappled. Lightweight Plating requires a suit of medium armor, and whilst wearing this armor, you cannot have disadvantage on dexterity checks or saving throws. Aerodynamic Armor also requires a suit of light armor, and whilst wearing this armor, you cannot have disadvantage on checks made to swim or climb, and have advantage on checks made to bypass the effects of difficult terrain. In addition, your movement speed increases by 5 feet. Now, these infusions aren't going to be infusions you take throughout the entirety of a campaign, and may not even necessarily be infusions you apply to your own gear. They are, however, new and interesting infusions that you can take into a campaign with you to provide you with a little bit more versatility and flexibility to the artificers you create. And there you have it, a suite of new Eldritch Infusions and Artificer Invocations, I know I got that backwards, don't at me, that you can take to create new and interesting characters that really reflect the kinds of adventurers you want to make. If you like the look of this, you can download it for free over on my itch.io, and you can also check me out on social media to keep up with whatever the hell it is I'm posting at the time. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube and check out all of the other D&D homebrew that I have made previously, and create new adventurers, cool characters, and just... yeah.